Hey folks, and welcome back to Pyro Painting. Today we're going to paint something from Wild Ascent. Now what we're going to paint is the Exalted Effigy. Now this is coming up for Kickstarter in October time. It's from Lazy Squire Games. Okay, so what we're going to start off with is Uniform Grey. Now with the Exalted Effigy, it's pretty much just stone. It's with a few hints of colour here and there. So what we're going to do is just going to get that base tone of the grey down. So what you can see is just literally a quick overbrush, I think the technique is called. And we're just basically going to get the whole thing, make sure we don't miss any patches or anything like that. Next thing, ash grey. What we're doing now, we're just going to build up the highlights. So what we're doing is just dry brushing over and over with the steady change kind of thing of what we want. So we're going to get this to a peak and then go to crushed skull. The crushed skull is like a off-white kind of ivory colour. It's a beautiful colour when it comes to stone because you don't want to go to peak white. It just doesn't seem right. So what you're doing here is just going to make sure you're getting your top highlight. Now something I like to do, which some people find weird, is I wash them after. So now what this does, it blends all those colours together. So instead of you having stark highlights, you now have them blended in. You're still going to highlight up after, you're going to end up with a very smoother kind of transitions and all that sort of thing between your highlight colours. As you can see, at the moment it's just been pretty simple, straightforward thing. So now, while this is drying, got to keep busy. I'm going to use Monster Brown. Just basically going to work on the floor while that wash is drying. So what we're going to do, just get that Monster Brown, get it everywhere. Don't worry about if it hits the crystals or anything like that. Just make sure it doesn't hit any of the wash or the hands, because you don't want to end up with that sort of mess. As you can see, it's all this whole model is pretty much spaced out. It's quite nice. So now that the wash is dried, when you go back to crushed skull. Now because the crushed skull was the highest highlight, I like to go straight back to that. Now this gives it that kind of worn but light look to it, which really does help with this particular model. Next thing, Retributor Armor. Now Retributor Armor is like a mid gold in a sense. I do have darker, but I wanted this one just to add a bit more colour kind of thing to it. Plus it goes on really nicely. So we're just getting down that Retributor Armor, get it down onto every single part of the gold. Now you could change this out, you don't have to have it specifically gold, you can probably go for the silvers, you might want to go for a different stone technique, but I honestly reckon it worked quite nice as the gold. Brings that hint of metallic into the model. So what we're doing with that, pylon on the back, we've got the arm cuffs, and then there's a little medallion on the front kind of thing. And then a few things hanging off the arms as well, make sure not to miss them. But all this model is pretty much the definition you can see straight out work. So next, Agrax Earthshade. Now because that paint that we put down while we were waiting for the wash to dry is now dried, we're going to go into the wash now. So the whole process of what this is, we're just going to keep moving, to try not to stop, because once you stop, you're losing time. Okay, so while this wash is going down, we're just going to go on to something else. So we've got the Ryken Flesh Shade. Ryken Flesh Shade is simply to do the golds, make sure we don't go on any of the stones. If you do, try and minimize where you're hitting it so it's not like a huge area. But it brings that gold into a very nice rose kind of colour. Brings more heart into it, more of a warmth colour. So now that the wash is dried, we're now going to go to Brownie Sand. And the Brownie Sand is just basically a dry brush on the ground. Just to add a bit more, texture, kind of colour, and all that sort of thing. Go to Skeleton Bone now. Skeleton Bone, all we're simply going to do is just add that second highlight. This just adds a little bit more life to the model. Now, Matte White. What I'm doing with Matte White is literally on this Exalted Effigy, there are a few lines that run all the way down the model, down the arms, stuff like this. What I want to do is I want to make these like huge amounts of light, like a powerful magic kind of thing. So what I'm doing, I'm laying down the white, which let me, when I come down to my next colour, it'll show up a lot brighter and it's a lot easier to put on instead of me just going straight to the green. Once I go straight to the green, it's going to be a little bit harder. I'm going to have to put a few more layers down, but if I put white down first, it makes it a hell of a lot easier and just cuts all that time down. So now, as you can see, this model extremely, so far we're 4 minutes, just under 5 minutes in. Model's been extremely easy to paint. There's been no hiccups, no problems. I gotta commend Lazy Square Games for this. This is a beautiful model, and it really does show when you're painting it as well, the care and detail they've took into the design of this. You know, everything, the detail that you want to see stands out. There is a huge amount to this, and you don't need a lot of work to make it look good. So the next color we're going to use is we're going to use Green Flame. Now Green Flame is for basically to pick up the white lines, like I said, to get that powerful kind of like magical light kind of feel to it. As you can see, the camera went a bit dead there, but basically what we've done, we've gone right around the white to make sure we got everything. So next is the crystals. Now it was a kind of a weird one. I wasn't too sure whether to do greens on the crystals, make them stones or nothing. But thanks to people on Facebook, someone came through and they said about the purple. Purple really does stand out in this, and it does suit it really well. So as you can see, we're just going through all that crystals now. Make sure we're getting it all. Now, as I said, all of this simple work. I mean, in total, all I worked on this model in the end was about an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's obviously you take away the drying times and all that sort of thing. And I'm a slow painter. So, an hour and a half, someone who's faster than me could probably get this out in 40 minutes, 50 minutes, taking away drying times, of course. But it just shows how, even though it's extremely detailed and how nice this is, it doesn't take a lot of amount. You know, they've designed it really perfectly. All the areas are open, everything like that. So we're now going to go to Grum Green. Now, Grum Green doesn't add a huge amount to the model, but it's just in certain parts where the light would hit the green more than anything else, I just added a little speck, just a little tiny bit of the green, just to add that kind of 3D definition to the colouring. Now, it doesn't really show up, but it is there. So next we're going into Kirin Gold. I think it's Kirin, something like that. Basically, this is a light gold. Now what I'm doing, I'm basically kind of like tracing it over, you know, layering that onto the previous gold we put down. And it's basically, so we want to keep the recesses the shaded gold, and we want this to be now the kind of like the flat areas kind of thing. Well, let's do that. I'll just add a little bit more color, brings that gold straight up, and yet it still keeps the details because you've kept all those recesses, the original gold that's been washed. You see, yes, it can get fiddly around some of the sigils on the sides. Now, if you want to, you can take this one step further. So after you've done like the Drucci, which all this is just basically, we're going to shade those crystals. But now, what I was saying with the sigils on the big gold part, you could actually make them as an OSL. So you could run colour all the way through that, and that would absolutely bring this model up. So, as you can see, again, this has all been nothing too major. There's been no extreme techniques, nothing like that to bring this up. It's just been simple techniques. So our next step, we're simply just going to get shining silver. And the shining silver, we're just going to edge highlight some of the gold. Now this makes it look like it's like light is refracting off the gold itself. It gives that kind of illusion. We don't want too much of the shining silver, because you put too much down, it looks overpowering, is the only way to put it. I'm going to go Beholder Purple. Now, Beholder Purple is going to be a dry brush on those crystals, because those crystals are, we want them to pop in, we want the colour to really jut out kind of thing. So now, we're going to do Behemoth and Lawful White. Now, first step with this dry brush, I did a 50-50, give that a layer. Then added a bit more white, give that a layer, and just basically progressed until I got to a point where it was about 75% white to 25 to the purple, and it gives that nice bright thing. So there's the finished model. Beautiful model. The company has done this proud. Beautiful thing. So I hope you like that. If you want, subscribe and all that sort of thing, and until next time guys, see ya.